Welcome to From the Trenches, success shortcuts revealed by real-world innovators crushing it right now. I'm your host, Scott Hartley, and we're back with another episode packed with actionable strategies from today's most successful entrepreneurs. If you're tired of generic business advice and ready for real cutting-edge tactics that are working right now, you're in the right place. Now, what if I told you that embarrassing moment from your childhood, the one that you still cringe about every time you think about it, is either your biggest weakness or your secret weapon for crushing it in business? Today, we're going to explore how childhood humiliation creates two types of entrepreneurs: victims who stay stuck making excuses, or warriors who use that pain as rocket fuel to outperform everyone who never had to fight for it. If you've ever wondered why some people with every advantage still fail, while others who got dealt the crappy cards in life end up winning everything, well, this conversation with my guest is going to blow your mind. My guest today transformed from a third grade failure into someone who's now smoking his former classmates and exceeding even his own wildest dreams. And he's going to share exactly how that traumatic experience became his unfair advantage. So let me introduce you to Barry Walton. Barry is a seasoned producer with over 2 decades of experience leading high-impact video productions from concept to completion. Known for his ability to manage complex projects with precision, Barry has built a career executing content for major global networks like NatGeo and Animal Planet, as well as high-profile organizations like the NBA and NHL. His deep expertise in production logistics, team management, and operational strategy has made him a go-to leader for delivering excellence under pressure. In 2017, Barry founded Endless Media, a production agency focused on delivering branded content and video strategy that helps businesses grow. His leadership has helped organizations tell their stories with impact through television, digital platforms, and experiential media, while managing teams, budgets, and timelines with efficiency and clarity. His work has earned industry recognition, including an Emmy Award, Golden Matrix Award, and AAF Best in Show. From executing shoots in the Himalayas to navigating projects in Italy, Hawaii, and all across the US, Barry brings an execution-first mindset, ensuring projects are delivered on time, on budget, and with measurable results. As he continues to lead in the production world, Barry remains focused on bridging branded content and storytelling with streamlined, results-driven execution. Barry, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Scott, that is the most amazing intro that I've had in a long time. But I think it's, humbly, I think that you captured a lot of my experience and a lot of the highlights. So thank you very much. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am so excited to hear your story because when I read your application to be on the podcast, the thing that stuck out to me was your experience in third grade, failing third grade. And that really had an impact on you. And that got me to thinking, because as I shared with you before we actually, started the recording session, is I've got my own experience from third grade, from childhood, that has impacted so many aspects of not only my personal life, but even my business life. And as I thought about that and I looked at your application, I was like, you and I cannot be the only two people in the world that have that experience, that have that. All of us have something from our childhood or in our early years, maybe even its teen years, something that is either currently holding us back or something that we have overcome, but we just don't necessarily recognize it. So that's really kind of like what intrigued me to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, no, I mean, that story basically, school was never easy for me uh, from day one. First grade and second grade, I was getting tutoring, but I never thought that I would fail and be held back and watch my peers go forward, right?
Mhm.
I thought, and that, and just, that's kind of what happened. That's kind of what the sideswipe that happened in the third grade, to my surprise, at the end of the year. my teacher used to write on my report card, "class clown." I thought that was a compliment, you know. That somebody was not. I was an entertainer. I was an influencer. Somebody should have told me that that also can work against me. But you know, it hit me extremely hard. And you know, sometimes in life, everyone kind of handles tragedy differently. For me, that tragedy, because I was a very expressive person and a public person, and I liked to, you know, like if you know the disc, do you know disc,
Mhm.
the disc, the four quadrants of the disc where you have the decision maker, the influencer, and the S and the C? I forget what the S and the C is, but I was a high influencer, and so I had influence and I took a lot of gratification from that. And then when I failed, I felt like I was on the spotlight of failure.
Mhm.
And and I watched my entire class go away, and that scarred me deeply inside, and it built, and it was like pulling the carpet from underneath my feet. It was the ground of my self-confidence, the ground of my self-awareness completely crumbled. And for the majority of my childhood, even through college, that haunted me until in my 30s I started going to Toastmasters, and I started speaking about it publicly.
Mhm.
And the when I first started speaking about it publicly, I started to feel, it was the first time that I started to feel power over it, right? And I started to feel power over the idea that like that failure does not need to haunt me, right?
Mhm.
That failure does not need to overcome me, does not need to control my life. Um, but it was a huge insecurity, and I don't want to get ahead of questions that you might have on the topic. But that was kind of what happened. It was a failure in the third grade of being held back, watching my peers go ahead, and at that point, questioning, you know, just questioning everything became into question. The institution, my skills, and my abilities, and who I was at a very young age, which impacted my entire life.
Yeah. What did you see? Like, obviously, you mentioned that, okay, fourth grade comes and the students that I should be with, they're in fourth grade. I'm stuck with a new class in third grade, a new set of peers. Um, how did you see that translate from like third grade through 12th grade and maybe even in college years? What effects did you have, from, how that situation impacted you? How did that manifest
Well,
itself?
yeah, I mean, personally, on a physical scale, I was in that school, the same school, small Christian school, private school, for till the 10th grade. So I literally every year watched that class that I felt like I should have been with move on,
Hmm.
and I also, and I never forgot, and I never forgot that I was supposed to be there. You know, psychologically, that impacted me in a way that what I like to, that I later shaped into what is known as the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is a storytelling tool designed by Joseph Campbell
Hmm.
to outline mythical storytelling. And that, you know, the most obvious example and the easiest example to lay out is the story of Lord of the Rings and Frodo. You know, there's a call to adventure. The sorcerer comes and there's a ring discovered, and he answers the call. He goes out and he goes with his friends, and he's got a mentor in the sorcerer, and he's got clear enemies, and he goes out on his journey. And the biggest part of the journey for everyone is the abyss. And that is that space, you know, basically when Frodo was on the ultimately it happened multiple times throughout the film, but ultimately the most iconic example is him at the volcanic core by himself with arguably his pseudo self, which was that little enemy. I forget his name, Goldolf or whatever. I
Gandalf,
forget it.
I think.
No, not the
Or,
Gandalf, but
oh,
the
okay, yeah.
the little creature. But the point is, I don't want to lose the track on the point, which is that is the abyss. That is the point of decision of going forward And for him, it was throwing the ring in, but going forward through and fulfilling what you're called to do, or returning back in fear, cowarding back in fear. The point of me telling you this whole example of the hero's journey is that that moment in the third grade undermined my belief in myself that I could make it through. And so every time that I had big dreams, man. I had big dreams in life. I grew up with in the school that was funded by a multimillionaire. And this is in the 80s, when being a multimillionaire, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars, in Orville Merillat, who made Merillat cabinets. His daughters went to school with me, and Orville had built his business from a garage and built it into a multi-million dollar cabinet company, the equivalent of what a Walmart-esque type company is today.
Mm-hmm.
In a speech that he gave when I was in like the eighth grade, he said, "Dream big, dream big." And it always stuck with me. I was like, I want to dream like that man did. And throughout my life, as I went forward from that moment, I went to take on I wanted to do the biggest things. I wanted to take on the biggest hurdles. And so, I moved to Hollywood to be an actor. I moved, I chased my wife to Italy to marry her. When I did something big, I went on trips for months on end. When I did something big, I did them as big as possible. I didn't want to do small. But when I came to that abyss, that haunting voice of failure from the third grade, that you can't do it, prevented me from having success for until my mid 30s. And so that was the effect on my life of that experience. And I'm happy to talk about how I started to overcome it. But that was the real haunting effect that just came from that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm definitely intrigued. Is like, all these years, 8, 9 years old in third grade, all the way to, 30 years old, when you finally have that breakthrough, it's like, okay, how do I actually, overcome this? How do I achieve these big dreams and these big goals that I have? So, yeah, tell us more of this story. I'm interested.
Well, no, I mean, and and I wrote a book. It's called The Unknown Adventurer, and in that book, I talk I talk about this in detail. And this is kind of the story arc, right? So I just kind of reached a point. Oh man, when it was when I moved to Italy to marry my wife. Um, I had failed so many times. I had not lived, and I'd done amazing things too. To your point, to my classmates, leaving my classmates behind and different things. I had a huge insecurity. So because of that, I wanted to achieve the biggest, most obvious things. I wanted people to see me on a grand scale. And
Hmm.
at that time, the thing that I was most proud of was working and producing shows for Animal Planet and NatGeo, and doing television shows and having my name in credits, and on national TV, which was extremely, felt very rewarding. But even in that grand experiment, I failed because of, you know, for various reasons. So at that point in my life, I kept having these moments where I would come to the hardest moment in my life and fail miserably, fall on my face. And I think, one lesson I would take from that, and to your point originally for your audience, is like, well, what lessons did you learn from that experience in third grade? The one thing that I learned over and over again, and I learned this at a young age, and it wasn't even this moment, a transformative moment in my mind that I needed to have, it was never give up. I
Mm.
had a never give up spirit. Like that seared within me, like I have to keep going. Like I can't quit. Like I want my dreams to be fulfilled. I don't care if they think I'm incapable. I don't care if they look at me and they assume that I'm not as smart as them. I am going to achieve what I want in this life. And that determination was built out of a sense that like somebody's holding me back. I
Hmm.
don't know who's holding me back, Sometimes you don't know who's holding you back. But for me, whoever it is, they're going to lose and I'm going to win. I'm not giving up, right? So in
Yeah.
all my failure, the one thing that I learned was I'm going to keep getting up. And that translates into my business today because I'm self-taught. In a
Mhm.
lot of my things, I'm self-taught. I do everything. I bootstrap. I pick myself up by my bootstraps. But when I went to Italy, I had that abyss moment of failure. And in that abyss where you are questioning here are the unique traits of the abyss that you need to know about because me throwing out a term like the abyss, people are probably going, what is the abyss? The abyss is when you've decided that you're going to do something. And 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 there is a clear and concise moment where you are alone with that decision. You've taken the advice from friends. You've taken the criticism from friends. You've had people throw rocks at you who don't like you and tell you you can't make it. And you've had those people that historically come to you and aid you because they think you're incompetent, come up to you and go, Barry, like, are you sure you know about this? Are you sure about your decision? Those people are the people that are both your best allies and your crutches.
Mhm.
And as much as it hurts, you have to let go of those people. So those people that come there to help you, all those people have come, said their part, and they've stepped aside. And you are in a space of solitude and quietness where it is literally only you, and if you believe in God like I do, and God. And you've got a choice to make to go forward and follow what your convictions are and what you've decided to do for your life, or go backwards and go, no, I'm not ready for this. This is too much. And frankly, whatever you decide, be forgiving of yourself, accept yourself, love yourself. You get a second chance. You get chances throughout your entire life.
Mhm.
All of life is about preparing. The Buddhists say all of life is preparing for death. And the death is the ultimate abyss, which is the path forward into the unknown. That is what the abyss is. And so all you're doing is preparing yourself. But if you choose to go forward, you will go forward alone. You will cross that path and you will come out changed. Most people are afraid of that change.
Yeah.
Because what happens when you come on that other side is there are new friends. Even your old friends see you differently. So those relationships are transformed. There are new friends, there are new foes, there are new enemies, and there are people that you loved for years who sometimes will go away. And that's painful and that's hard. So when I went to Italy and I found my wife, I took one of the biggest leaps I've ever taken. I met this woman. I was on the beach. I met her. I was for 6 hours on a beach in Costa Rica. And I had been in relationships, good and bad, for so much of my life that when I met her, I knew that this was who I wanted to be with. And I went through that abyss and I moved and I traveled to Italy first. And then afterwards, I moved to Italy. And I had to wake up every day in this new country where I didn't know the language, where I was living with a woman who spoke kind of broken English at the time. She was in the middle, and I was around her family, and I didn't speak Italian very well. And every day I had to wake up, and it was such hard work mentally and physically and emotionally, and recommit myself to what I had decided to do.
Mhm.
And go forward through that abyss. So that was the moment of transformation, which has impacted everything in my life. Everything learning to go through that. And that was really the first time. And I'm happy to say I'm still married today after 15 years. We live here in Florida, and that choice has been one of the greatest choices of my life. But learning to go through that and learning that really, marriage never ends. It's always work. It's always that choice. But everything you do when you commit to it and you own it deserves that daily choice. And this boils down to your business, right? And what you're talking about in your business. So many people have this idea that business is, and I had it. I admit I'm guilty. So I can't say so many people. I have to say myself as well.
Mhm.
That business is going to save you from X, fill in the blank. For me, it was the corporate culture. For me, it was corporate culture and corporate control and not having control of my time, someone else having control of my time, right? And for me, my business was going to save me from that. I was going to have my own time and I was going to be able to have control of my money. It was a complete fallacy at some level. Yes and no. I mean, and we could go into that, but I don't want to lose the track. The fact that what business is you have to have your reasons why you're doing it, your purpose why you're doing it, your goal, and your goal has to be bigger than you and your own selfish interests. And then it becomes a daily choice of going forward, right? A
Yeah.
daily choice of building up the scaffolding. Because let's be honest, when you sit in the corporate world, the scaffolding is built around you. You've got your finance department, you got your sales department, you have your marketing department, you have your leadership, you have, everything is built up around you and you serve a role. But
Hmm.
when you build your own company, you have to build all that scaffolding on your own. That is that is so intense and so challenging, but you have to build all that up and you have to keep going forward every day and you have to wake up and remind yourself why you did it. Remind yourself that you're capable of doing it. Don't lean on your crutches. People should be advisors. They should not be crutches, right?
Hmm.
You, people that are carrying you along or bringing you back and going, "It's okay, little buddy. We never thought you could make it. Welcome back home." Those people love you, but they're misguided. You
Yep.
need advisors. You don't need parents. Once you move out of the house and grow up, you do not need parents anymore. Parents are only there when you're a child. When you're an adult, you take care of yourself. You recruit advisors. So I've kind of like taken this answer and ran with it, and we're way down the road, but kind of going back to, the point of origin, which is that was the moment of transformation for me when I realized that to go forward on my own path, I had to overcome the fears of failure from my childhood. I had to move aside those people that were kind of had come to help me but now had become a crutch, right?
Hmm.
And I had to live with my own decisions and I had to have my reasons and wake up every day reminding myself that's why I'm going to do it and going forward with those choices.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I love just everything that you've laid out there. But one of the overarching themes that you kept re-emphasizing was, reminding yourself of the why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Why is this the path that you're on? Why did you make this decision? Because every single day in business, we're always going to have obstacles and challenges thrown at us. There's going to be things that make us question, like, why are we doing this? Is this the right thing that I want to be doing? Do I really want to be building whatever it is that we're building? Is it worth everything that we're going through? And so, and as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, I mean, frankly, life is lonely a lot of times because as you mentioned, most of the people around us, they don't understand what it means to be an entrepreneur. They don't understand the mindset and the mental fortitude and everything that you have to build a successful business because many of them they work at a job where, like you said, all that scaffolding's already built for them. They just fill a role. And so, it's easy for them to kind of like give some input, but it's not really valuable. And, they kind of want
Yeah.
to bring us back into their world, right?
Yeah. Well, and what you're saying is right. The loneliness is real. And how you resolve that is I think you have to have outlets outside of work,
Hmm.
outside of business that are not, entrepreneurship can be all consuming. You can't let it be. You have to you have to have groups that you go to where you're with people that are not talking business, that are talking about, things that are, for other friends that are there to just, talk about life and support you and just kind of be there. But then also like what you're saying is like as a leader, you also have to realize like that people are there to advise you.
Hmm.
Really, and that's a little bit of the people. You have to be careful for people like you say that pull you into their world. There, once you choose that path, you are kind of and you are the leader. There's a reason that there's a tip at the end of the arrow. There's a point at which like that's what's leading the way. Everything behind it is driving it forward and driving it towards its goal. And if those things aren't, it's you're missing, you're losing your edge, in a sense. So
Yeah.
I do think, I think you have to be aware of that. It's and when you're feeling weak and when you're feeling vulnerable and when you're feeling burnout and when you're feeling exhausted, it's easy to fall back into that and just be like, oh, I need a break. I just went through this. I just came out of a period of burnout. I didn't realize it was burnout. It was like a 2-year period, but I just went through a period of burnout where I just had stopped putting the gas on. And
Hmm.
I think the biggest thing that I had lost track of is the why. It's easy to forget the why. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
It had become, I had put all my focus on money. I had put all my focus on money. I was like, I need X number of dollars. And it all became about money. And I had to tear down everything I'm literally in a rebuilding phase right now. I had to tear down I had to move out of my office. I had to bring everything home. I had to tear down all the pieces of the company and refocus and get my finances to a place where I could go, this was the original goal. I got off track. I got pulled into what I thought I needed to do to survive. I need to have some faith in what that it's going to work out and if it's not going to work out, if I can't achieve this goal, if I can't move towards my why, then I'm going to lose all reason for doing this, right?
Hmm.
And so I had to regroup, refocus on my why, which I'm in the process of doing right now. And then from that, I you start to new people are coming in and I'm like, "Oh, that is what I needed initially, and some clients had to go. They
Hmm.
were hard to let go of, and I had to go back through the abyss. The abyss never ends, man. I just went through it. I was like, oh man, 2 years I've been in this spot. I feel like I'm finally starting to see the daylight, but I'm not directly responding to any one topic other than just the experience of being an entrepreneur, which is a very real experience, and these are things everyone deals with.
Yeah, and it's encouraging to hear that, you say that once you go through the abyss, it's like, oh, I'm done. I'm on to the other side because there's always another abyss waiting for you
It's
somewhere
a
down the
cycle.
road, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like I've heard many times before from a lot of mentors and people that I've interacted with, is that, as you reach new levels and new heights in your business, there's going to be new challenges that come along, new obstacles that you're going to face, and you're going to have to figure out who is the person that I have to become in order to overcome those things. And it's always that process of evolving and improving ourselves and how we handle different situations. And I think that that's very true.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a cycle that you go through of growth that you never stop going through. If you stall the cycle, you're only putting off your own growth. And so you have to continue to face it, and you have to build. And what you're saying that building yourself up, you have to continue to be building yourself up. It never ends. It never ends. And if you look around at the landscape, and I've made this mistake too, and go, gosh, that guy, he sold his company. Now he took a bunch of money and he went and he's on to something else. And why couldn't I get there? Why am I not at that place? You're gonna lose your focus. You're gonna lose again, you're gonna lose your why
Yeah.
if you start doing that. And so and that I got caught up in a little of that. And you're like, no, dude, that's not you weren't here. That would be a great residual, but that's not why you're here. That's not why you're doing this.
Hmm.
And the reason that's important is because that connects to the root of life's meaning,
Yeah.
right? See, there's something more powerful than business. Like we're doing business because it fulfills our more of our purpose and the meaning of life. It's not just about the retirement or the money. And for some people, you look at them and that's what it is for them.
Hmm.
But I think fulfillment is drawn from a root of having a purpose that you're giving back to this to the world, to humanity, to this planet, and making it better than how you found it, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that that's why the why is important, especially for people that are struggling right now and might compare themselves with people that are solely motivated, that are selling sold out or so whatever, like I'm I want to take this in so many different directions because I'm a very philosophical person. I'm a very spiritual person. I
Hmm.
believe there's a hierarchy in life, and I think that the deeper meaning of life and the spiritual quest of life is higher than business. I think business. I think you start out with shelter and food, and business is building wealth, and what you do with that wealth contributes to society.
Yeah.
And to decide what to do with that wealth, you must have spiritual direction and purpose, right? If the wealth is all about you, you're a very shallow person and you're not making the world better than what it is. So that's the philosophical point that I'm trying to get at when I'm talking about purpose.
Hmm.
And those things are important to me, and I might be unique to this. I'll never be able to go hard in the paint with just cold business. It's not who I am because at my core, I'm an artist,
Hmm.
and that's where my work stems from. But all that's valuable because it does help. I think it does help people who are in this business to go, that I have to have that answer because that answer is going to take you through the abyss over and over again, which is the wash cycle of life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or you're gonna start. Even people that cross the abyss can reach a point where they're turning back. We're like, I'm done. I've reached it. I'm done. And those people. They're usually drunk and living in the Bahamas. Because they have to numb themselves from reality. I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm getting way off course, Scott. I'll reel it in, but I do think there's some truth to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we could obviously go on and on. There's so much to unpack here, but I know that you've got a free resource that our listeners can tap into that will kind of dive in. I feel like we'll dive in deeper into this discussion and also kind of your journey and everything. Do you want to take just a minute or two to kind of share about that?
Yeah, well, my book is called The Unknown Adventurer. So it's behind me on the I should grab a copy and have it like right here for your audience. I love the fact that you've got hit the inbox right there with the QR code. I love that. And I got to get a copy. But my book is called The Unknown Adventurer, and it is about philosophy, it is about spirituality, it's about love, it's about adventure. And primarily it's about what we talked about. It's overcoming failure. It's and building a pathway to success through kind of some of the things I shared. And it's on Amazon Prime. And you can find it on Amazon Books, and you can also find it on my website, along with all the other resources and my documentary films and my work. And my website is called Endless Media Me. That's like end less media me. And there's a free copy there. There's a free copy there if you'd like. I would recommend the hard copy. They're much better to sit down on a couch and open it. But if you want,
Yep.
that's a gift for your audience that I'm more than happy for them to take. Please put the name of the podcast and how you heard about it when you fill out the form there. But yeah, so that's my book, and there's my story in there, and my work in filmmaking and documentary film, and my business and all the pieces.
Awesome. Well, Barry, I really appreciate your time today and just kind of sharing your story and your journey with us, as well as, the practical insights, the things that we really need to be thinking about as we all encounter our own abysses in business and in life and, figuring out how do we, make that path forward. So awesome. Well, that's all for today's episode of From the Trenches. Again, grab your digital copy of Barry's book, The Unknown Adventurer. We'll have the link in the show notes just in case you're not at a spot where you can write that down right now. And if you're looking to supercharge your email marketing, check out my book, Hit the Inbox, at hittheinboxbook.com. It's packed with 76 pages of strategies to get your emails landing in inboxes and driving sales. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. It helps us reach more entrepreneurs like you. And until next time, keep crushing it in the trenches.